Andrew, Brand New Heavies are coming back to Australia. I couldn't be more excited. And I tell you what, we had that album in 2019, and I'm sure everything just came to a grinding halt for you as it did for all of us. So it's good to see you back again.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was a bit of a shock, and I think we all want to just forget about it and pretend that it didn't happen. But in some ways we can't, because we have to. I always think, what it was like 2 years ago, and I was thinking when I start moaning about not having our wine chilled at the right temperature in the dressing room, or my sound isn't quite right in my wedge on the stage, or my bass doesn't feel right, I always have to tell myself, you know what, 18 months ago, you would have loved that problem.
So you just released the TBNH album, and that was the first album in 5 years, and then all of this stopped. So I would imagine that 2020 was probably gearing up to be a very busy year for you that just went down the gurgler, it just disappeared.
Yeah, we had probably around 40 shows.
Wow.
Yeah, about 40 shows to promote globally. And I didn't think it would last that long. So obviously I thought I would just delay it. But unfortunately, we've got to make another one now.
Oh, you poor thing.
I know. Well, it's not as easy as they're not as easy to make as they used to be, because time and family and domestics and all that stuff. But we're actually working on it already. But we are going to actually re-release a couple of singles from it just before the new one comes out. But it's an amazing album. We put a lot of time and energy.
You know what? Every artist I ever talk to says their most recent album is an amazing album. But can I concur? This really is an amazing album. You've done a remarkable job.
Yeah, I think we have, and we have had a couple of albums out before that, and I will say that they're not that great. Because our personnel set up and lots of different factors weren't aligned. But yeah, just go to Spotify, guys, and have a quick listen. Yeah. 2-minute listen. I bet you won't be able to stop listening to it.
Well, it's very infectious and very consistent from start to finish.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did have the opportunity to do a few shows before all the lockdown started, and there's been a few since. But in particular, Stupid Love, Getaway and These Walls, which are songs from the new album, you've had the chance to perform those live. Why those three songs?
Well, Stupid Love we thought was going to be our big single, because it's a proper Brand New Heavy single, a sing-along type song, and it's not kind of funky groove based. I'm not saying it's so funky, but it's not as jam based as some of our early stuff. And we think it's just a proper song, it's kind of like a grown up version of the Brand New Heavies. It's got a beautiful verse, and then it has a B section, and it comes into this big bright chorus. And we've been holding on to that song for years. We actually wrote it in 2002.
Wow.
Was it 2000? Yeah, it was 2003, 2004, and we just shelved it because we didn't have the right voice for it and the right singer. We've got lots of stuff in the archives that we pull out now and again. So yeah, it's just a great song, we think.
Yeah, and Getaway These Walls, are they two tracks that are also destined to sort of be focused on?
Yeah, we're going to probably do like a 3-track EP. I mean, These Walls was something that we worked on with Mark Ronson, purely online and over the phone and over the internet. But he produced that and chose the song also, and helped us with the mix and everything like that.
Well, you've had your fair share of songs in movies as well. What have we had? Pret a Porter, Close to You, The Truth About Cats and Dogs, World Keeps Spinning, Sliding Doors, which is a great movie, More Love, American Pie, had Midnight at the Oasis in it. And I love the fact that you've got an Australian connection, Andrew. Happy Feet, an Australian movie. Jump and Move.
Was it an Australian movie, was it?
It absolutely was, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I always forget to tell people about that actually because it's such a weird, it's such a strange occurrence because we wrote the song for an album called Heavy Rhyme Experience, which was us playing live with a lot of US rappers in '92, and that song got added to Happy Feet, the movie, which ended up being one of the in the title sequence, I think it was. 20 years later, it's funny, isn't it, how things can just sit around for years and then suddenly, they appear in a big movie. So that was fun because all got sent. There's a little Happy Feet penguin with our song. I think you have to poke it or something, and it starts singing our song and flapping its feet. They're called feet.
Well, there you go. There's something that's now going to have to be, I think, acknowledged somewhere along the way on the Australian tour.
Yes. We might do a few bars, but we used to do the song actually. But yeah, we could throw that in. Actually. Yeah.
The shows that you have been doing, I'm gobsmacked by the number of hits and the fact that you recognise your heritage. Never Stop, Dreams Come True, Stay This Way, Dream on Dreamer, Back to Love, Midnight at the Oasis, Spend Some Time, Sometimes, You Are the Universe. All these songs have been recently in the set list as well. Is that what we can expect when you do the Australian tour soon?
Yes, yes. We love. I mean, I think that I'm very honest about why people like to see us, and the rest of the band are as well. Simon, anyway. And I think that if I put myself in the shoes of the crowd, if I'm going to see a band that have been going for a long time and they've had some hits in the past, I want to go and hear those songs. So we always really we focus on the classics from the '90s for 98% part of the set. 98% of the set is those songs, and then we sometimes throw in a couple of new ones or one or two from stuff that people don't necessarily are very familiar with. But in this case, we're going to do two from our album that's out at the moment, TBNH. But it's all mainly a classic. There's no scary bits of the set where, what's that? That song, because I'm a fan as well. You see, so yeah, don't worry. It's all the hits. Don't worry.
When we go back and look at the body of work that you've had over the last 3 decades, two albums, Brother and Sister and Shelter, were just enormous. Like, they were huge in Australia, but they were massive in the UK. How do you rank those two albums in relation to your entire body of work?
Those are two big albums. I mean, we for some reason we didn't release a lot of albums because we were so busy because we had a big hit in the States. It's our biggest market is in the US, and our first hit was in the States. So we were touring constantly and recording at the same time. So we were on stage more than we were in the studio. So we didn't get a chance to put out as many albums as we should have done. But I sometimes think that if we put too many out, then the quality level might have gone down a little bit. But yeah, I think those two they are the two. I think Brother Sister that's the album that kind of gave us the platform globally, and obviously India Davenport. She kind of really introduced us to the American market because she's American, and they really know how to perform. I mean, she's an amazing performer, amazing dancer, and her presence was so powerful. So we were lucky to have her back there.
Mm. I guess Brand New Heavies is essentially the nucleus is you and also Simon Bartholomew. We will, I assume, we'll be seeing Angela Ricca down in Australia as well. How did you discover Angela for Brand New Heavies?
Angela auditioned for us in 2012. She didn't quite make it back then for a couple of political reasons I won't go into now. But I never forgot how great she was and how great a songwriter she was. And again, her presence, it's all about presence and being able to connect with the audience. And she's gorgeous as well. That's all part of it. So I thought, let's ask her in to see if she can, how she feels about singing some of the songs on TBNH, the last album. And she came in and she said she's free, and we did a few tracks, and we did a big show with her. Her first show with us was in front of 5,000 people when we supported Soul to Soul, and that I think it freaked her out, but at least you got a taste of what was to come. But yeah, she just always was on our minds from years ago. We just thought we'd call her up, see what she was up to.
The term acid jazz is synonymous with Brand New Heavies. Was that term around before you formed, or was it a term that evolved around you?
I think it evolved around us because we got signed to a label called Acid Jazz. So I guess us being the first band on that label to kind of merge, 70s funk with jazz and kind of modernize it in the 90s. I think it just became that. We just became pigeonholed in a nice way as an acid jazz band. It really did help with the press because we're doing something new, and I think the press loved to have a genre to fit us into. So it kind of stuck, and it meant that we were considered to be a jazz group, which is crazy. So I can't really say. I still can't play properly. But I've got something. I don't know what it is, but I've been very lucky. Yeah, it helped us a lot. I didn't like it at first because, I thought it was a passing phase, but it's really it's helped us greatly.
Yeah, well, the term popped up, and I was hearing it at the time with Brand New Heavies, and then it was attached to stereo MCs. It was attached to Incognito, and then Jamiroquai popped up, and Jamiroquai was also in those early days put into that category. I can't imagine there could have been a Jamiroquai had there not been a Brand New Heavies. Are you sort of aware of the influence that you've had on a lot of acts that came after you?
Yeah. I mean, London's a small place, and there was lots of bands popping up. But we knew most of them. We kind of grew up with JK because he's from Ealing as well, and we're all from the Brand New Heavies mainly are from Ealing. And he actually auditioned for us, I think, very, very early days. And again, his first single was on Acid Jazz as well. So there's lots of jamming and hanging out and stuff in those days. So I think our influence. I think there were a lot of people around us at the time were quite impressed that we could play live. Because we weren't musicians, we were just jamming and just trying to be funky. So the fact that we could play live on stage, I think it kind of encouraged a lot of people around us to make music as well and make it live.
It must have been fascinating for you in those early days because I guess London was ground zero then for acid jazz. And before we knew it, very early into the 90s, the Americans had started to wrap themselves around it as well. A Tribe Called Quest started to be called acid jazz. Was there a rippling out effect, and were you watching it as it rippled out?
Yeah, well, we spent a long time in America, and as I said, we got signed there first. Well, our big deal was there first, and all the rappers and the whole hip hop scene were just gravitating towards us because we were playing live what they were sampling from the 70s. We were actually doing it, live in the 90s, and that's how an album called Heavy Rhyme Experience came about. Because they all came down to see us at our first gig, and Q-Tip got on stage, and there's various people clambering to sort of be part of what we were doing. So that was an amazing time. And when you're that young, you just think, oh, this is how it works. Okay, but thinking back, it must have been amazing to end up from Ealing to New York City, and then having Q-Tip wander on the stage and start rapping over your, trying to play the bass and the drums and stuff. So, yeah, the naivety thing I think really helped.
Was neo soul then the variant of acid jazz?
Yeah, yes, it was. Yeah, it was kind of like a mid-tempo, the use of the Fender Rhodes and lots of jazzy chords and conscious lyrics and stuff like that. it was all a little bit slower in the States, which is how the States, how, you know, I guess there's a lot of music coming from the South there, so it's a bit hotter, a bit slower, a bit more cool, laid back. But yeah, that was the equivalent Neo Soul.
Mm. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you back in Australia, Brand New Heavies, for the first time in a decade. And you will be touring Australia with a band called D.I.G, Directions in Groove. Are you familiar with them? They're actually an Australian band from the 90s who are reforming for your tour.
Oh, well, that's good. No, we're not aware. I should have a quick listen. I should have a good old listen to them. Yeah, but it's good to have a warm up because it breaks the ice with the audience, and so I'm looking forward to hanging out with those guys. Yeah.
Look forward to seeing you down here.
Likewise.
Thank you, Andrew.
Take care. See you soon.